Okay, so today, the long-awaited for controlling Chrome with VBA. So the topic for today is like the advanced way to interact with a web server through VBA. There are restrictions through using the web query wizard, and the two main limitations that we'd like to get around on the web query wizard. Number one, the only data you have access to is data that actually shows on the screen. If there's something that's in the HTML that's behind what you're seeing on that browser, you simply don't have access to it with the web query wizard. And we'd like to be able to log into password protected websites and maybe submit other kinds of form information. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to see how we can use VBA to remote control Chrome. And this process will work with other browsers as well, Edge, Firefox, IE if you want to do it with IE. But it's going to be a little bit of a process to get there. So we're going to go ahead and we've got some things to download. So let's go ahead and download these two files, this parser.cls and download it, and this trucklist.xlsx. So this will be what we work on. But we've got to get some stuff installed first. So let's go ahead and follow this link to notes on Selenium. This is like to an old blog that I set up when I first came to BYU, and I don't really keep it maintained anymore, but this is where the notes on getting Selenium. So Selenium is like another program that we can use to remote control Chrome. How many of you have used Selenium to control Chrome from another environment such as Python? Yeah, so maybe a third of us. So you have some experience there. So this will feel pretty familiar to you once we actually get to the code, but getting it installed is going to be a little bit of a slog. Okay, so step one, we have to install this thing called Selenium Basics. So some guy just said, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to make Selenium work with VBA, and this link is going to take us to that code base. So I'm going to follow that link. And I'm going to download the most recent version here. And this is from March 2016. So it's been some time since this has been updated, but it still works just fine. So I'm going to download Selenium Basic and go through, a normal install process. It says it's done, but it doesn't quite look like it's done yet. 0 bytes left. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can. Chrome doesn't quite think it's done yet, but I'm going to go ahead and see if I can just open it. So let me. Pretty sure that I've shared the right window, but maybe not. I'm going to stop sharing and reshare on my laptop. Stop share, share screen 1. Request remote control, request, approve. That looks a little bit better. Okay. So it looks like, this looks like it's installed. Oh, looks like it's finally finished there as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this installer. And make sure I've got it only running once. I think I double-clicked it. Okay. So I'll go through this installation. I accept the agreement, whatever it says. And I'll install all of this and install. All right. If anyone's having trouble getting to this getting to this point, now's the time to let me know so I can come and give a hand. Okay, install the Selenium IDE add-on for Firefox. We're not going to need that. We're not going to be using Firefox at all, so I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck that. All right, so I think that's step one done. So let's kind of come back here and, oops, see if I can get to my notes. I always forget that it's going to want us to remember like where it installed. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that installer again. I'm not going to install, but I want to make sure that I get this path recorded for myself because we got to make a change to where it installed this information. So let me go ahead and just launch that installation again and pay attention to where it's going. Next. I approve. Yeah, right here. So can I even copy it? So you'll need to make note of this. It looks like I can copy it. So I'm going to copy that and like put it in Notepad. Okay, so yours will probably be in a similar path, but you want to make sure you know where that Selenium Basic got installed. And I'll cancel the installation because it just was after that path. It's not complete. That's fine. Okay, so step one. Second one is now we have to get what's called the Chrome driver. Now the Chrome driver has to be paired to your version of Chrome. And so it might be a good idea to start off by saying, hey, let's make sure that we're updated. So I'm going to select the little more menu up here at the top, come to help, and then about Google Chrome. And it tells me Chrome is up to date. It's version 119 point something. If you're something other than 119, hopefully it gives you a choice to update. Is there anyone here who's got different than 119 on Chrome? Who's doing this along with us? Okay, so each time there's a new version of Chrome that comes out, the Chrome driver gets released as well, and you have to have the current Chrome driver. Anyway, so that's that. Okay, so I'm going to follow this link here, which is going to take me to that Chrome to be able to get the Chrome driver. And yeah, we're after the stable one here. So if you're like on the cutting edge beta, whatever, but let's stick with stable. So I'll follow this link here on stable. And now this is a terrible page. I don't know who made this page, but it's terrible. So what we're looking for is we don't want Chrome, we want the Chrome driver. So in this first column, make sure we're on Chrome driver, and then we're going to choose the link that is, you know, for your version of Windows. So you're probably you're most surely running Windows 64-bit version of Windows. And why this is not like a URL is crazy to me. But I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste it in so that I can get to that page. Oh, or it's going to download. So that will download that zip folder. The zip folder is going to have the Chrome driver in it. I don't even think I have to extract it because I'm just going to be pulling the file out. If you want to extract it, that's fine. If you just want to open it, that's fine. But we need to get to where we're seeing the Chrome driver. So you might have to go into a folder to be able to get to that Chrome driver.exe. Then we're going to open up another Windows Explorer. And we're going to go to that path where we got installed. Where did I put that in Notepad? And I copy that path. Now it seems like if you're just typing this in, like app data, I think is a hidden folder, so you won't see it. But if you go ahead and type in users, C:\users, your username, and then app data, then it should show, and navigate to that folder, it should show you the other ones. So here's then the installation of Selenium Basic, and you can see that it's got a Chrome driver.exe file right here that's from 2016. That's really, really old. And so we have to update that with the current one. But I want to make sure that, because this is the one that seems to be a little bit problematic, is getting to this part right here, like finding this installed Selenium Basic with the Chrome driver. Anyone need a hand getting there? All right. And I'm just going to drag this one over. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not sure what's going to happen if I land it on top of it. Sometimes when you drop a file on top of an executable file in the list, it will like try to run that application with it. Well, I guess I'll just try it and see. I'm just going to drag this over. Nope, I got to get it over here to drop somewhere where it will actually copy. Drag it, copy to Selenium Basic. That's what I'm after. You want to replace that one? Yes, replace it. Okay, so I don't need that zip file open anymore. But now that I can see that I've got this one from 12.4. That's like today, isn't it? We got this one from 12.4, and I've got the current Chrome driver. So now, just to test to make sure that things are going well, I'm going to double click on the scripts folder, and then I'm going to run the one called startchrome.vbs. VBS is very, very similar. It's short for Visual Basic Script. It's like VBA, but it's not attached into any application. So it's just for like running scripts at the operating system. That's what that is. So we're running a little script that's going to try to launch Chrome. And if I run that and it brings up Chrome, and a little button that says OK to, click OK to quit, then we're in great shape. Then the whole installation went well. So I'm going to click OK. That'll close Chrome. But it's not useful except just to see that Selenium is able to open Chrome now. So if you want to follow along, you've got to get that Chrome to open by going there to scripts. And so if you're wanting to follow and that's not happening, let me help you. Is that talking about visual? Is that talking about .NET? Download, install this feature, skip this. Yeah. Okay. So if you don't have the .NET framework installed, when you double click that script, the startchrome.vbs, it's going to say, oh, you need to download and install the .NET framework. Go ahead and do that. It's kind of a normal installation process. It'll take a couple of minutes to do. So just go ahead and go through that. So anyone else have a problem besides the .NET framework? Sure. Oh, just click right up here. I'm sorry, it's here. Make your window full size. Paste it right there. Oh, and we shouldn't have to search. It should be, just go to open up any folder. Not in this search, but just anything over here. I'm trying to get to the menu, to the like address bar that shows the address of where you are. Programming.
Just
So maybe you view that. See if you can view the address bar. No. All right, hit the Windows key. Type CMD. Enter. Type CD. Space. Control V to paste. Enter. Start. 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 Space. Dot. Enter. There it is. And there's your address bar too. Why it wasn't showing any of them? Boom. Anyone else? You can see some of the .NET installation is about halfway there. So you're restarting. Is it now like installing updates? Oh yeah, so you might be following along with a video later today. Anyone else? All right, while that's installing for some of you still, how many of you have successfully gotten that start chrome.vbs to run? Okay, so, and how many of you are trying to get there but aren't there yet? Oh, it's like more are still getting there. Is there anyone who's having anything besides installing .NET? Okay. So we'll let that go. And why don't we then, while that's going for you, let's take a look at the assignment or at the example that we'll be doing today. So downloads. All right. Trucklist.xlsx. I'm going to go ahead and open that. At least it won't. Don't need to change it to unblock it because it's not a macro-enabled workbook. Thought I was starting it. Start it up. There we go. Protective view, enable editing. That sounds great. All right, so here's the idea. We have a list of trucking companies, and for whatever reason, we need to track down their telephone numbers. When if you are a common carrier, you must be registered with the United States Department of Transportation. And part of what you have to supply for that is like a telephone number. And so what we'd like to do is be able to use this US Department of Transportation number to look up the record for this particular trucking company and to get the information there. So we've got a link to the website where the government makes this data public. And let me go ahead and open that. I'm just going to open that in Chrome. Oops. Like I must have opened Chrome already. Here it is. Okay, so here's the site. What we want to do is we want to plug in the Department of Transportation number and click on search. Let me go ahead and do this by hand, just so we can get familiar with this environment. I'll click search, and it looks like this search is meant to be a little more general. So I can search by name. If I search by name, it's going to bring back more. But if I search by Department of Transportation, it's going to bring back just one. There's only one company that has that Department of Transportation number. So once we get to here, I'm going to want to find this link and click on that link. And that should get me to the place where I've got now the telephone number to be able to bring that off the page. So we want to automate that process. We want to tell Excel, open Chrome, go to the search page, plug in the US Department of Transportation number, find the right link, and that'll just be the first link that's in this location on the page, follow that link, and then be able to pull the data off. So it's a process that's going to involve us going to 3 different sheets, 3 different pages to be able to get that information. Now, this is a publicly available website, but this submission form is the kind of submission form that you use to log in somewhere. So this is an example of coming to a form, plugging in some values, and then clicking the search button. We're going to make Chrome, we're going to make VBA do that for us. So even though we're not actually logging into this site, it's the same process for logging in. And then once we get the information that we're after, we'll just pull it back over here into Excel, plug it in, and move on to the next one. All right. So that's our chore for the day. Where are we in terms of getting installed? How many of you now are saying, I'm still not quite there? The numbers have come down. So it's just coming along, it's just still loading, or are you just stuck? Okay. Let's go ahead and save our workbook as an Excel macro-enabled workbook. Oops, not want to add a place. Browse. And downloads and XLSM. All right. I'm also going to come back to our page because also on these instructions for working with getting a Selenium set up, replace the Chrome driver, start Chrome. Okay, so once that's installed, we should be able to add a reference to the Selenium type library. And then we've got like some example code to run that should actually have this working from inside of VBA. So let's pause right here. Let me just check and see how we're coming on the installation. That got installed and you're moving forward. Anyone else who's not there, I just want to kind of see what you're facing. You're starting up. Is there anyone else who's saying I'm not quite ready? All right, we're moving on without you. Hang in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this example. And let's just take a look at what this says. So we've got a sub-procedure, VBA sub-procedure. We're going to dim a variable as a web driver. So web driver is a data type that comes available because we've installed Selenium Basic. So that's why we're going to have to add a reference to the Selenium type library. So then we'll be able to make a variable, an object variable that's allowed to hook up to a web driver. We'll then connect that object variable onto a new instance of the web driver. And then all this stuff that we're doing with bot, this is where we're now controlling Chrome. So we're starting Chrome. Get is going to tell us to get to a particular page that will open that page. And then we're going to find an element by its name, and we'll send some keys to it. So that's going to, we're opening an advanced search on Google. We're going to plug in something to search, and then we're going to click on the search button. And then that'll take us into break mode. We're going to go into break mode on this example instead of ending, because as soon as you end, this variable will go out of scope and it will actually delete the object that it's attached onto. And so it'll close Chrome. So one of the things a little bit frustrating is that Chrome, like when you're done running, your Chrome window disappears. So that's a little bit to deal with. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, and I'll bring it over and plug it into a new code module. All right, insert module. And I'll plug in that procedure. Seems like I copied way more than I meant to copy. I'm going to undo that and try to copy that again. Yeah. I'm not quite sure why I'm having such a hard time copying just what I'm after. There we go. Double click. So if you're having the trouble selecting it as I am, I'm just going to double click the word sub here. That should highlight that. Google search. Well, I had it selected and then I lost it. There we go. That'll get me most of it. I'll just arrow down to get the rest. Am I the only one struggling to copy that? Yeah, wonderful. Probably because I'm working on my laptop over the Zoom connection. All right, so I'm copying that, and I missed the word sub from copying, so I'll type that in and paste the rest of this. That looks a little bit better. But I need to add the reference to the Selenium type library. So I'm going to choose Tools, References, and I'm going to go find the Selenium type library. I think it starts with S. Selenium type library, there it is. All right, so choosing that Selenium type library then gives me the WebDriver object. So without going through the installation process and without making that reference to the Selenium type library, this code simply won't run. But now that should run, open up Chrome, go to the, in fact, why don't we go ahead and I'm going to put a breakpoint on start Chrome, and I'll run to there. And then we'll just step one line at a time to see this happen. So F8, start up Chrome. I'm going to put it to the side so we can watch it while it goes. And then we will F8 again. So we can see that it's navigated to that page. Okay, so now it's saying, hey, we want to find an element by its name. And so that is a method of this Selenium driver. And so let's just kind of get familiar with what we have to do to look at these pages. So it looks like this is probably the one I'm after here. Stay signed out is fine. So I'm just going to right click this. This is the one I'm trying to put text into. But I want to look at this. I want to see the underlying structure of this web page right here. So I'm going to right click that and choose inspect. And that will open. It'll try to open right here in this kind of small window. So I'm going to click on these three little dots here, which will let me undock this console. So this first button here, when I'm on the three dots, allows me to separate that into a separate window. I'll kind of push it over here where I'm using my VBA. And sometimes when you launch it for the first time, even though I said to inspect that, it didn't really inspect it. It's like sitting right here on the body of the whole document. So I'm just going to right click and choose inspect again. And it should take me down, kind of nested pretty deeply into this page where this control is made. So input, here's the class name, and it has both an ID and it has a name. The name property is AS_Q. And so one of the ways that I can identify a part of a page is by its name. Now, not every tag has a name. This one does. Not every tag has an ID. This one does. By the name and ID, those are the, if they have a name and an ID or an ID, that's great because you'll be able to track them down pretty easily. I can also find them by the class. The class is like, there should only be one tag on this HTML page that has a given ID. Names can be duplicated, but it's rare. Classes are duplicated often, but that's another way that I can find it. I can say, hey, give me the set of all the tags that have this class name, and then I can work through those to figure out which ones I'm after. But this one is saying we're going to find it by name, and it's AS_Q, and that's exactly what the code is saying. Find element by name, AS_Q, that is going to get a reference to that object, and then we're going to call the sendKeys method. And we're sending this text to it. So when I execute this line, we should see that text go right there into that part of the page. So I'll execute that one. Make sure I'm on this. And so it's put that into that search term. Now, this one, if we look at the button that we're trying to run down here at the bottom, advanced search, let me inspect that. And I've got a class, but is there an ID or a name on this one? There's no ID or no name part of this input. And so this one I'm going to find by class. And so if I say find element by class, it is going to find the first element that has that class name. Now, if there's more than one, and it's not the first one that I'm after, then I would just say find elements, and we'll play with this when we get into the example. Find elements, that would return a collection of these, and then I can kind of iterate across that collection and look at it to see the one I'm after. But it happens that JFK button is the first, perhaps the only JFK button there is here is that one. And so that will identify the object, and then we're going to call its click method. So when I run this, it should do that search. Let's pay attention to which happens first. Does the page actually load, or do we get to the stop on my line here when I hit F8 to run that? So well, it wasn't as clear as I thought, as I would have liked it to have been, but we can see now that we are looking at the results of that Google Advanced Search. And I'm not entirely sure if it waited for us here or not, but we'll have to address that question as we do the example. Okay, so this is just the kind of hello world example here. Is there anyone who's saying that didn't work for me? In the back, question or? Okay, so did we in VBA? Well, in VBA, I got that. Did you do this part and me hit stop on this code? Did you do the part that says stop? That says tools, references. Did you get this part? That part you got? Okay. Question or? So you got an error, closed your Excel workbook, opened it up again, give that a shot, and we'll see if it works. I'm going to come look at a student in the very back row. So was a similar error? It said something had to be installed or something, checked. Then it works. So yeah, good news. Thanks so much. You get a gold star for the day. Did that work over here? Looks like it did. Good. What's that? You think it's working? Yeah. So looks like restart Excel, close the workbook, restart Excel, maybe restart the computer, but it looks like we're getting there. Oh, should have asked if anyone else needed help while I was still up there. All right. Okay. So I'm going to leave this example here. It's always nice to have an example that's working, but I'm going to duplicate that code. And we'll make this then the example that we're going to try to actually solve the problem from our workbook. I'm going to push this workbook to the side. All right, and why don't we go ahead and configure this the way that we've done many of these, rather than trying to write a loop that does all this work inside the loop. Let's go ahead and get one. We'll call get one number. And we're going to pass it. Why don't we pass it the row to work on? So row as long. Then I'll also make a sub procedure here just to run this and pass a particular row to it. And we'll pass it row number 2. Then, of course, we could write a loop then that would call get one number and pass it each row individually one at a time. All right, so we're still going to need these first 3 lines unchanged. So that'll get Chrome set up and going. But let's also see, we've got the row. We're working on sheet 1. Does this sheet have another name? Probably just called sheet 1. Let me take a look at that. View Project Explorer. Yeah, it's just called sheet 1. And we only have one sheet, so I may just assume that we're working on the active sheet. All right, so I need to get find out the page that we're going to open. So instead of opening the Chrome search page, I'm going to open the page that we have here in I4. And I'll put a stop right there. And I should be able to now run this. It should open Chrome, and it should open that page up, which will allow me to do a little snooping around. All right, so I'm trying to get to this guy right here. So let's right-click this and inspect it. Oh, the fact that I think it's probably going to reset this every time I start Chrome this way. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the other copy of Chrome that I had, which may already be on that page. And I'll inspect this one. Like it's trying to have some kind of text tool when I've got text in there. Just had to scroll down. It's still not quite used to working with Windows 11. Okay. This is coming up a little bit cluttered, so I'm going to close this part of the window. And maybe I can scroll this part down. And that looks like that is the text box that I'm after. And it has a name. That's convenient. It has a name. And that's it. So I guess we'll go by name. It's called DOT. We'll come back to my Visual Basic Code. And find element. We're going to do something a little bit more involved here. Rather than just finding it and assuming that we find it, and then sending the keys to it, let me put that into another object. So let me dim another variable up here. Let me dim ELEM as a web element. So web element is just like an object that kind of hooks onto a part of a web page. And so now I'm going to set LM equal to this part that's finding that part of the HTML page. But I'm finding it by name with DOT. So I'll execute down to there. Didn't have an error, so that's good. Wonder what we can print about ELEM. Let's see, it might have like an outer, this element might have something that we can look at here. So there's attributes. We'll need to use those here in just a second. I'm curious to see if we've got some kind of inner HTML or outer HTML that we can see the whole tag. And send keys to it. I can get the tag name. That'll be helpful, at least that we can see that we're connected onto it. Yeah, maybe we can get it by its attribute. Let's try that. ATTRIBUTE. And then I think it has an attribute called outer HTML. And that should be like the tag that element is. That should show us the whole tag that's there. So that should be identical to what we're seeing when we're looking at, yeah, that tag. So input, the order of the properties might be different, but it's got a type, a style, a name, an on focus, type, style, name, on focus. So that's, you can see that we have access to that tag here through Selenium and VBA. And so we have an object variable that's bound on to that attribute. So now that we're there, we should be able to say ELEM dot send keys. And we're going to send to it the Department of Transportation number for our current row. We passed the row in and we're in column E. So let's just go ahead and read that right off of the sheet. So cells, row number, row, column number E. Dot value. Drag my current statement indicator to there and run that line. I want to make sure that I find the copy of Chrome that I opened. This would be great if we had a lot more screen space here. Okay, so this is the one that has my other tabs on it. So this is my regular Chrome, not the one that I opened with VBA. It's still open. I just got to find it. This one? Ah, there it is. I'm going to go ahead and close the extra tools. There we go. So we can see that we've put that in. I'm just going to run that again so we can see it happen. I'm going to delete that number off. Back to my VBA code. And do the send keys again. Oh, and it seems like it assigned that because we typed that in there. Let me make sure that's really true. I'm going to get rid of this one. Select that. And it seems like the act of putting something into that DOT field is actually selecting the search method as well. Yeah, nice. Okay. Next step is to click the search button. So let's right click this and take a look at it. Oops, I'm going to go back to my other browser so I can, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and undock this one. Maybe I'll go to Alexa. Thanks, Alexa. I'm going to go ahead and open this one, even though it's a little bit of a hassle to work in this one. So I'll inspect and undock. All right, take a look at my search. So here we have an input of type submit. Oh, it has a name, submit. So let's try to go after it by name. So I think I'm done. I'm done with needing to be hooked up to this input. So I'm just going to go ahead and bind LM onto that next button. And the name was submit. And it looks like we're connected onto that button. Let's go ahead and just look at it. Yeah, so no error. And we've got that input. So now I think we just have to click it and we're in good shape. All right. And it looked like that delayed. So I think before we get to stop, I think this page is going to be loaded. So I think we're going to be in good shape there as well. Okay, questions? Show me how well you're following with what we've done so far. 5, 5, 4, 5, 4. Okay, good. All right, well, let's take a look at this one. Right-click this and inspect it and see what we can find out about trying to find that link to click it. So now, what is going to be interesting about this? In this case, what we've got here, there's going to be lots of links on this page. So if I go after my whole collection of links, it's going to be a lot of work to look through and find the one that I'm after. But if I look at this TD, this is a cell in a table. It's got a class on it, and that's probably the only place that class is used. So let's go ahead and get this one by its class. And I'm going to copy that class while I'm here. Back to our VBA. And, oh, we've got one here. So let's go ahead and set LM. equal to find element by class. And I'm going to run that and see if that successfully finds it. Looks like there's no error. I'll take a look and make sure it looks right. Yeah, so this is bigger because it's got stuff inside of it. So now I'm interested in getting the first anchor tag inside that element that I have right there. So far, the only time that we've called find element has been on the bot itself, but we can do it from an element. So now I'm going to set, I'm going to go ahead and just in case it doesn't work the first time, I don't want to lose my connection to that. So let me dim link as a web element. And I'm going to set link equal to elem dot find element. Now, did we have any kind of a class on this? It doesn't look like it. We've got a long link here. That's it. It's pretty simple. It is a link. So I think we're going to have to go by its tag name. So let me see my options here. Elem dot find element. Find element by tag. I think it's find elements. Here's find elements by tag. I don't know if there's a find element by tag. Yeah, there is. Find element by tag. That'll find the first one. Find EL an element by tag. And then I'm going to give it the tag name, which is A. Okay, so that executed without error, always a good sign. Let's go ahead and look at the outer HTML of that link. Okay, looks like I found that part of the page. So now I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. And that navigates us to the next page. Ooh. Okay, so now we've got to see if we can figure out something that's going to be unique about this page so we can find that telephone number. So we come in here and inspect it. I'm just going to come right here by telephone and inspect it and see what's under the hood. Looks like there's going to be Yeah, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this. There's not much that's unique about like going directly to this one. Like they haven't named the tag that's actually holding that telephone number. So I think for this one, we're going to go after a whole set of tags, and then we'll kind of look over the tags that we've found to see which one we're after. So why don't we go ahead and let's look for this right here. Let's get the set of tags that have this class, middle TD FMSCA. So I'm going to copy that. Let's go back to VBA. And I'm going to need now another, this is going to be like a collection of elements. So let me dim elems as web elements. So this is going to be like a collection of web elements. So after we've made it here, we're going to set elems equal to bot dot find elements by class. Let's find elements, plural, by, oh, not by CSS, by class. Bring my stop down here. Run to there. No error. This is a collection, so let me look at elems.count, and we'll see how many there were. So it sounds like there's 5 of them here. I should be able to look at these one at a time. So let me just kind of look at the first one. Elems.item. Number 1 dot attribute outer HTML. So that's the US Department of Transportation number. Looks pretty good. The only thing I'm a little troubled about here is that it seems like by going after this class, we're going after the ones that are white. Let's look at the second one and see what it is. And I'm not entirely sure that the phone number is always going to be one of those white ones. We may have to adjust this. Look at the second one in this collection. If my theory is right, that'll be the address. Yeah, that's the address. Okay, so now that I have these in a collection, I can kind of look at that whole collection and figure out which is the one that I'm really after. And at this point, I think I'm probably going to be after the one that's got like that says telephone in it. Let me go ahead and I think it's the next one. Bring in that. Yeah, so like if I was to kind of look and see it said telephone/TD, I'd be pretty sure I found the one that I was after. Okay, so I'm going to do this. For each elem in elems, and let me just go ahead and at this point, I'm going to just print these out just to make sure that I'm getting there. So elem.attribute debug.print. And maybe I'll put some kind of a visual divider in there as well. So now I'm going to go over all of those elements and just kind of print them all out. So 1, 2, 3, this should be the one that I'm after. So instead of printing them though, I'm just going to like look until I find the one that has that text in it. So I'm just going to say if in string, starting at 1, looking at the outer HTML of the tag, looking for that text. If that is greater than 0, that means it found it, then exit 4. When I get out of the for loop, I'll just go ahead and print my element because my elem should still be bound onto it. We'll just see we found the right one. I'll come back up to my for loop now. And I'm just going across all of them, checking to see which one actually has that text in it. And then that'll let me out of the loop. Now, if it doesn't find it, it's going to assume that the last one is the one that I'm after. So we might want to do some logic to check for that, but let's go ahead and get it working first before we spend some time on making it more robust. Oh, elem.attribute outer HTML. All right. So now I just got to find the one that is I got to find the right one. So it's going to be in a TD, but there's 3 TDs. I want the inner HTML of that third TD. So let's go ahead and set elms onto that one. Set elms equal to elm dot, and we'll get them by tag again. Find elements by tag, and the tag we're looking for is TD. And that is going to be a collection. I want the third one. Oh, actually, I can just go straight on to elm. Go ahead and just connect that up to, even though it's not a link, I've got that link that I'm done with. You go ahead and just bind onto that, and then we'll print that one off. So it looks like it found it. So now I'm actually after the inner HTML. So not the outer HTML, I'm going to change that to inner HTML. That'll just be what's inside of the tag that defines the opening and closing part of that tag. And I'll just want to get rid of it says NBSP, that's a non-breaking space in HTML. So just go ahead and I think now I'm ready to put that onto my sheet. So cells, row number row, column number, is it column E? That's probably where the data I read from was. We're looking in column F is where we want to put the phone number. A value equals the links inner attribute. So we're going to look at the inner HTML. We're going to look for the non-breaking space. And we're going to replace it with an empty string. So we're writing into column F of our current row with whatever's inside about that link. And we are stripping off that non-breaking space. So if that works well, we should be able to spell that correctly. And then if this works, it should drop the phone number for that company right here in column F. And we could extend that out to pick up the fax number if they have one. So it looks pretty good. One thing I'm not quite sure about is it going to get rid of the rest of the code from in here? Is it actually going to be waiting for when I do all this navigation? We can find that out pretty easily by just running this again without the stops. We'll run this and see if it brings the number in. page navigates, and it brought the number. So each time we're navigating, it's waiting until the page arrives before it moves on. Whew. Well, that's it. So the ability to kind of go to a web form, plug some data in, click on the submit button. That's what it takes to log into a password protected website, and then be able to navigate, pull data, and so forth. Questions? Show me just what you think your likelihood of using this is in the next couple of years on a scale of 1 to 5. So seeing 3s and 4s, yeah, this is something that's really, really powerful. So if you find yourself working with online data, being able to go after it this way is really handy. Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming. Class dismissed.